the last thing I wanted to do here is I wanted to go back to the agenda and actually share with you in the next couple of classes. In the next class, we're going to be talking about memory. Could that be useful in your literature tie-in? Yes, I'm going to talk about some experiments that were done. You'll be expected to find at least 5 separate references from the ones I talk about in class. 5 separate references. I'm going to talk about these in future classes. But the one experiment was a partial replication of a study done by Bauer. We ran a partial replication. Notice what Bauer did to people. Doesn't say how many words he gave, but he basically gave people 120 words. And how were they presented? Either in an organized fashion or a random fashion. And he gave people 120 words, and he had them memorize this for 3 or 4 trials. Did you guys do 120 words for 3 or 4 trials? No, if you were writing up an introduction, you'd kind of say something, but we ran, and maybe at the start, so after you summarize the main findings here, what you might do is you might actually say, do you think we found support like Bauer found? Yeah, he found that people did better in the organized versus the random. So your lit tie-in might start with this, that we basically found the same thing with Bauer. Our experiment was kind of a partial replication of the Bauer. How many words did we have? 20. How many words did they have? 120. Organized word lists were better. So this will be one of the studies. Can you use this as one of your 5 creative references? No. You ran a partial replication, so this is one of those. You'll get a few studies next time that I'll be talking about that you can have in your paper, but you need to kind of find 5 other ones that we really don't talk about. Let's talk a little bit more about some of these other sections as well. So we've kind of got the idea of what? The summary. We started off with a little bit of the lit tie-in, matching Bauer's study. What about strengths and weaknesses? Were there strengths to this study? Think about the method section. Were there strengths to this study? This was an experiment, correct? Tell me about some strengths. Was it run the right way? Lily, why would you say it was run the right way?
It was controlled.
So I did a lot of good things to make sure that internal validity was solid. The lists were standardized. They had the same number of words on each list. They had the same font size. Everything was standardized and controlled. The only thing manipulated was the independent variable. Can I make cause-effect conclusions with this? Yes, I have good internal validity. Did I have a really large sample here? Not necessarily. Does that tend to weaken external validity?
Yep.
A little bit. So you could say that, but what do I have in my corner here? Has this probably been replicated 100 times? So you could probably, and it would be good to go, strengths and weaknesses. The fact that we only had 10 people, you could say as a weakness, but then you could cite other people who said this has been found many times. Did you see any other glaring weaknesses in the study? You could talk about the fact that it wasn't completely random assignment. Should it have been random assignment? Yeah, I should have asked the experimenter should have asked everybody to just take any seat they wanted. It was quasi-random assignment. Do you think that really hurt things, though? Probably not, because for the five people here, it was half were, everything was counterbalanced. What about the counterbalancing thing? Was that a strength or a weakness?
A strength.
It was a strength. It prevented what?
The carryover.
The carryover effect. So this won't really be a terribly long paper. You'll have your method section. That'll have to be kind of precise and detailed. You can send me drafts of that. You'll have your discussion. That'll be probably, so your method might be a page or two. Your discussion might be 2 to 3 pages. And then you'll have a reference page at the end, and of course a cover sheet as well. Does this make pretty good sense for people? Do you guys have any comments or questions for me at this point in time? Go ahead, please.
When does this due?
This will be due kind of at test time, kind of the Halloween situation. I'll put a date on it. But you'll basically have 2 weeks, and I think after the next class, as far as drafts, at the next class we're going to talk about memory and how memory works and how this experiment fits in. That'll go a little more into the content of the next test, but that'll also give you your what. What section will that fill in the gap for? In your discussion section. You already have what? You already have your summary. Do you already have kind of strengths and weaknesses?
So be tying it in with the literature.
Yeah, we'll go over kind of literature types of things here. So that should give you that. And then you'll basically have a chance to send me some drafts, and I'll critique them for you before you turn this thing in. Any other comments or questions for folks? Okay, so with that said, if people in the online class do have comments or questions for me, please send those to me. After Thursday, I will start accepting drafts from folks in the class, and we'll stop